Do you ever feel like you don't know what's going on? Like you don't even know what to do and nothing makes sense? How can that be when here at Fantasia, I'm telling you that you are the creator of your universe? The key to turning that confusion around is in metaphors. Yeah, that's right. You have that power. I'm Laura Giles, the host of Fantasia. And if you like hearing about how to move through your hero's journey like a boss and get tips on how to consciously create your world instead of living in a world of shadows created through fear, subscribe to the channel. That's what we do here. Now, the real reason why you don't know what's wrong with your situation, with you or your life, is because you aren't hearing yourself or other people speak. All of us use metaphors all the time. They're so common that we don't pay attention to what we're saying. But once you start, it's like the blinders come off and you regain control over your life because now you can see what's going on. Why do we love stories? It's because stories are full of metaphors, and the best ones are stories within stories that solve problems and give us hope. They don't hit us over the head with the obvious, they're subtle. Our unconscious knows what they're saying, but sometimes we don't get the message. We feel uplifted, or our heart is warmed, but we don't take the message to heart. And this is another way that opening our eyes to metaphors can help. They can make what's in shadow visible so that we can learn from other people's experiences or stories. And this is why fairy tales were created. If I say, once upon a time, there was a boy who wanted a car, but he didn't have money, so he got a job, worked, and saved to buy one, then drove off happily ever after, and you're a teenage boy who wants a car, you're probably going to roll your eyes and walk away. Now, let's imagine that you're a kid who wants something and reads the story of the little red hen. She finds a grain of wheat and asks the barnyard animals to help, and nobody wants to help her, so she plants it herself. And then she asks for help to harvest it, grind it, and make it into flour, and then bake the bread. And each time, all the animals refuse to help. Then, when that hot bread is coming steamy out of the oven and they're smelling it, smells so good, and they're all attracted by the aroma and want to eat it, guess what? She gobbles it all herself. And what message might that kid take away from the story? Asking ain't getting, right? Cars don't grow on trees. If I don't work for it, I don't get it. That is often a whole lot more effective than saying it directly. It's the story and the metaphors that make it powerful. I say over and over that the language of spirit is metaphor and symbol. And once you learn to speak in the terms of metaphors, you become a better programmer of your life and can write your own script. We're already doing that just unconsciously. We end up in a story that we don't like and we wonder why. And life doesn't have to be that way. Now, when I first started talking about metaphors with my clients, they act like I'm talking Chinese. They don't know a single metaphor. It's like, wow, what's going on? And then when I ask them to think of one, they just go blank. So this is what I'm talking about. It's like this magic trick where we're always speaking in terms of metaphors, but once you look directly at it, they mysteriously vanish. So let's give you some common ones, everyday metaphors that you've heard, and once you see it, I promise they're going to lose their camouflage. So here are some metaphors. He's a pain in the neck. I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Every day is like being on a hamster wheel. Life's a bitch. She's a ticking time bomb. I'm drowning in paperwork. None of these things are literal, are they? No, right? All of them create a picture, don't they? Yeah, we could draw something to illustrate these ideas. And all of them are templates for how we understand and create our world. They shape how we think, live, and feel. So it's important that we not only know what they are, but that we consciously choose them. Let me show you what I mean, okay? So let's say that I come from a poor Christian family who believes in working hard and earning an honest dollar, and nobody in my family seems to be able to crawl out of poverty. And when I think about how my family talks about money, I recall hearing things like money is the root of all evil. And money never makes a man happy, nor will it. Now, because this is my environment, it's quite likely what I believe as well, because we typically just accept what we're taught unless we make a conscious effort to examine those thoughts. Just look at families who share the same politics for generations, and you'll see that it's true. I'm not saying it's 100% true, but generally speaking, it is. So, if money is the root of all evil, what are the chances that I will ever allow myself to be rich? Zilch, right? We all have an internal compass that is looking out for us and it doesn't want us to be evil. So we're going to avoid that. And if we believe that money never made a man happy, money is a bad thing to be avoided. So creating some unconscious sabotage so that I don't have to be made unhappy by money is a way for me to live within my values. So it's all unconscious. I could call it bad luck, the economy, my lack of education, or whatever, but all that is throwing my power down the drain. As long as I feel that I lack the power, I can't be in the driver's seat of my own life. So be careful of the metaphors that were handed down to you. You don't have to live by your mother or father's programs. Another way that we create metaphors is in response to what happens to us. So let's say I grow up bullied. Two common responses to that are to become invisible or to become tougher than the bully who threatened you. And if you choose the first route, your metaphor could be I'm a nobody. Why? Because someone who's invisible has no body. You can't be seen, right? And how might somebody who is nobody be treated? It's like they're invisible. So nobody listens to them. They're overlooked and they're not appreciated. They're ignored. And then they wonder why. They might have a really, or they might be a really hard worker and yet they don't get promoted. They might be a really sweet person who looks out for everybody and then nobody remembers their birthday. They could get a new haircut, a new outfit. Nobody notices. Why? Because our metaphors are our reality. We don't have to say, hey, I'm invisible, so feel free to kick me around. It just happens. And if I become tougher than the bully, do you think that will impact my relationships? Of course it will. I'm probably going to be perceived as the guy with a chip on his shoulder or the wall around his heart so nobody can get in. And lots of people put up walls to keep the pain out, but it also keeps warm, snuggly, happy people out too. And then we wonder why we're all alone. To someone looking at you, the wall is just a wall. It doesn't discriminate between who gets to come in and who gets to go out. There's no gate, it's just a wall. So when we're not conscious of our metaphors, we could go our whole lives living our ancestors' stories. We could create a prison for ourselves. We can make life harder than it needs to be. Or we could be living on easy street with luck on our side every day. Since our metaphors impact our money, health, creativity, authenticity, connection, and so much more, don't you think it pays to open your mind and be conscious of your thoughts and words? Here's what this might look like. So let's say my good friend Sheila, and if you're new to Fantasia, I call the people in my story Sheila and Guy because Sheila's Australian slang for female, Guy is a generic man for male. And I'm using those names to not name names. So my good friend Sheila tells me she's having a hard time keeping up with the demands of her job. So I ask her, what's it like? She says, and here's the metaphor part, that it's like she's in a car with flat tires. She's running around the car wondering if she should change a tire, but she doesn't know how. She's sitting in the car. She's in the passenger seat. She's on the roof of the car waiting for help to come. It's like, okay, is that an effective strategy for getting work done in a timely and professional way? Metaphors are information dense. They can be loaded with a ton of stuff that flies beneath the radar, like dreams. And this is not always true, but some of the simplest metaphors might contain a lot of information, and some of the complex ones not so much. What I can glean from Sheila's metaphor is that there's a lot of problems here. First of all, we have a car with flat tires. So this suggests to me that she's not going anywhere in this job. It's a dead end. No matter how much running around she does, it's not going to matter because it's not taking her anywhere. Sheila's also not in one place. Everything's relative. If you don't know where you stand, you can't make any effective changes. For example, let's say that I want to go to Cleveland. Okay, so I have a destination, but where am I? Am I north, south, east, or west of Cleveland? If I don't know where I am, I can't begin to know which direction to set out. So Sheila's in the top of the car, she's in the car, she's outside the car, which tells me that this metaphor isn't accurate. Metaphors have to conform with the law of physics to be useful. You can't just be hanging out in space because you can't do that in the physical world. So the only way that Sheila could be in all of those places is if she has a split personality. And if she doesn't, we need to work on that metaphor some more. And I bring this up because some people get the whole metaphor thing pretty easily and others overthink it or make it too literal. If you can't get a date and you describe your metaphor as I'm standing in a grocery store and men just walk by me without looking at me, and that just happened, it's probably not a good metaphor. That's probably a memory. And most of the time, again, this is not 100% true, but mostly true, your metaphor is going to be a little disjointed. If you're in an uncomfortable position in a family situation, it might be like you're standing on a bed of nails, There's a growling dog to one side of you, an open field on the other side, a menacing sky above, and a cliff behind you, and a rainbow in front. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense in real life, but it can work in a metaphor if it represents your inner world. And this is exactly how I would construct your metaphor. So flesh it out. Get some context by looking in 6 directions: up, down, right, left, front, and back. This can give you an idea of what resources are available and what obstacles. And don't overanalyze it, or, just don't overthink it. This is a right brain thing here, and it works best if it stays a right brain process. Now, let's look at my good friend Guy. So Guy is engaged, and as the wedding's getting closer, he's feeling more and more stressed, naturally, right? Lots of people get stressed by the plans and the pressure for things to be beautiful and perfect. And there could be a lot of stress about money. So being stressed before a wedding is normal in our culture. And when Guy is talking about the upcoming wedding, he says he's going to take the plunge and pick up the old ball and chain. So picture that. We typically plunge into water. And if Guy is plunging into water with a ball and chain, I'm picturing that as a big metal ball that prisoners supposedly wore to keep them from running away. And if he's got that attached to him, or he's holding on to it and he's jumping into water, there's nowhere to go but down. So Guy is drowning. And that's not a good way to picture your future as a married person. So if that's what it's like, Guy either needs to change his perspective or pump the brakes. There's no happiness with that outlook. See what I mean? This isn't just wedding jitters. It's not financial pressures. This is a whole level of no, don't do it. Metaphors whisper our truth. If Guy is feeling like he's going to be underwater, he needs air. He needs space to breathe. If he views his wife as a ball and chain, he's envisioning being married as a prison with no freedom. He's tied down. It's better to reconcile that before he gets married, don't you think? Now, let's say that Guy's metaphor is also that dating is about the hunt, the chase. So he woos his girl, shows her a good time, is really warm and demonstrative, and does all the right things to bag his prey, right? Okay. Now, his metaphor for married life, it's that it's about settling down. So once these two get married, the wooing stops. Guy becomes a homebody who wants to enjoy a home cooked meal and watch TV in the comfort of his underwear. Meanwhile, his wife is like, "What's this? Guy showed me that life with him meant getting lots of attention, gifts, time, and hearing sweet words. And now all he wants to do is lay around the house." Guy's wife probably feels cheated or deceived. Was she? If Guy's metaphor for married life means settling down, I don't think so. He did flip the script, but it wasn't an intentional thing because he wasn't even aware of any of that. So ask. Don't assume the person you're dating is the person that you're going to get after marriage. This is a very common issue that's avoidable with an honest and deep conversation that will benefit both parties. Metaphors can be emotional maps. Many of us have a time in our lives when we feel like a shadow of our former selves. And what does that mean? Probably that we've dimmed our light for some reason, most likely to feel safe. Maybe being bright and lively draws unwanted attention or criticism. Maybe it puts pressure on us to perform and we don't feel up to it. We're not here to be dim, we're here to shine. So that's something to look into. Now, that's a simple one, and lots of times they aren't that simple. So let's get a little more complicated so you can see what I mean. We all have metaphors for how we see life. Someone who likes adventure might like a life that's a roller coaster. Someone who views life as a building where you create a foundation and then build up probably isn't a great fit for someone who sees it as a roller coaster. Up and downs don't do well with buildings. Roller coasters go places, buildings don't. These two people are likely to clash in their worldview and the way that they do things. A homebody and a party animal are also not likely to make good partners. The homebody feels comfortable and safe alone in their own sanctuary, while the party animal likes being out with other people. I knew a couple like this. I have no idea how these two people ever got together. He was really a life of the party kind of guy, and he wanted a partner who was going to be his hostess, and she was pretty extreme introvert who would sometimes show her face for an hour or two, but she never stayed longer than that. So his happiest times were without her. And so it put a damper on how much he could enjoy himself. Now, some metaphors can change just by using different words. If you change your language, you'll change your life. For example, instead of saying, I'm lost, you can shift that to, I'm exploring my options, or I'm searching for my path. There's a difference, isn't there? I'm lost has a kind of desperate quality to it. I'm searching for my path makes it into more of an adventure. It brings curiosity and openness into the experience and power. And I think it feels more hopeful and exciting as well. Same situation, totally different outlook. It really bothers me when people say that they're broken. I don't think there can be any broken people, but if you do feel that way, perhaps you can switch that into I'm struggling to keep it together. If you picture a person who is broken, they're not whole, or perhaps they're in pieces. Someone who is struggling to keep it together is having a hard time, and that's honest and it validates the issue. I think it's important to keep it real. And in this picture, it never gets to the point of being in pieces. And I want to say this again because it's important. It's not positive thinking, it's not looking at the bright side. At Fantasia, we're always about keeping it honest, and it's hiding from our truth that creates pain and suffering. So we want to keep it real. If there's a sweet spot where it's real and still hopeful and strong, that's what we're aiming for. Got it? If it doesn't feel true, then we're just lying to ourselves. And I have certainly seen my fair share of clients who are bubbly, positive, and miserable because it's not real. So don't do that. It's a waste of time. Our perspective on life is an overarching metaphor that's a good place to start. If you think life's a bitch and then you die, you're not going to have a great time. Life as a battlefield is another one that sets you up for endless strife. If this is you, find a way that life is more joyous. It doesn't have to be life is butterflies and rainbows. I don't know who thinks that way, but life is a journey is probably something most of us can live with. There are ups and downs, twists and turns, and perhaps we actually arrive somewhere someday. Nothing too dismal about that. It sounds like it has some surprises, and as long as we stay on the path, we're probably on track. That metaphor makes life doable. Life's a stage is another common one, and we're all actors in a play. Others are watching. We get to play different parts. If that appeals to you and it resonates, that might work. Life's a game is another one. I've heard that the one with the most toys at the end wins. If this sounds fun, competitive, and like it might require some strategy, I think it's an improvement over life's a battlefield for sure. A metaphor for life that I don't hear people saying, but they simply imply, is that life is a race. They act like everything is rush, rush, rush to get to the end, and at the end you die. So I'm not sure what all that rushing around is about. It's about milestones, maybe hitting goals and winning. And maybe this is why lots of people die shortly after retirement. The race is over. I don't know. Sounds plausible. There's no right or wrong with this. Your metaphors can change. I don't expect that you're the same at 25 as you are at 35 or 45. So perhaps life is a race when you're younger, and then you shift to something else. When you change the program, the whole reality shifts. So be aware of this. Be aware of what program you're running. If it's not working, rewrite it. I want to stress again that this is about honesty. It's not a manifestation class where you dream of a reality that you want and then use those words to create it, although that may work. I think it has a better chance of working if you make incremental changes that are true rather than coming up with a glowing outcome that you want to be true but doesn't feel true yet. If your words don't resonate in your bones, they aren't your true words. So if you come up with something that you don't like, lean into it. Learn from it, uncover the truth of it, and allow that knowing to change the metaphor. For example, I often work with people using metaphors, and we do some metaphor work, collapse a metaphor, and then they just recreate the same situation with a different picture. What that says is that there's other work to do. They aren't ready to hold that new reality. Maybe they have to learn some skills, gain some confidence, build a foundation, maintain some boundaries, find a community, or come to terms with the fact that they have to leave the past behind in order to move forward. In my opinion, there's no way to do metaphors wrong. It's just about recognizing and honoring the truth, and being judgmental or shameful doesn't help. It helps bound you to the lies, so be open and curious. And honestly, the easiest way to learn about your metaphors is to listen to what they say. And you don't have to talk to them about it, especially if they aren't into Fantasia or self awareness. Nobody likes somebody telling them about themselves if they aren't asking for that. But the whole thing is it's easier to see other people's flaws or problems in your own. So once you see it, then look for it in yourself. It's easier. And once you've done that a time or two, your own metaphors will start to stand out like a billboard. So if you're not journaling, maybe now's a good time to start. We capture what we put on paper, and this could be a way to help you start to notice your metaphors. Just write a few lines about anything. What's your money like? What's your relationship like? What's your day like? Doesn't matter what it is. Try to capture it in a picture because that uses the right side of your brain and tells your intellectual side to be quiet. And this is what you want. This is not an intellectual exercise. If you're thinking about it, you're probably missing the point. You don't want to understand it or for your brain to get it. You want your bones to get it, your gut. They don't speak with words, so just write. No editing, no judgment. Now look at the picture of the words and ask how it feels. Does it feel expansive and hopeful or limiting and dark? Whatever shows up, accept it, love it. Say thank you for being a mirror for me to see myself, no matter what. What will happen is that you may start to stop hiding and meeting yourself, maybe for the first time. You don't have to be pretty or perfect. You don't have to be socially acceptable. Just be you. Metaphors are not about fixing you because you're not broken. So this is not a self-help strategy. Sometimes metaphors can be used to bring things back into alignment or to get you moving in a useful direction. They can sometimes help you heal, but that's not the primary purpose. It's simply to illuminate the truth of any situation and to create self-awareness. And once you know where here is, you can more easily travel in the direction that you desire. It's like trying to get to Cleveland. I have to know whether I'm starting in Columbus, Portugal, or Seattle if I have a prayer of planning well for the journey and getting there in one piece. So we all have a powerful tool. That's our words. We're always spelling. And that spell that you're casting could be harming you. So it pays to be aware of what you believe. When you learn the language of metaphor, it's like a spotlight that can now shine into the areas of your life that were previously dark. If you're really intrigued and want to see how this can work for you, join my private group. We're actually going to 2 groups in June. The first is the free community. And if you jump in there now, you can participate in a free metaphor workshop where you can discover something hidden about yourself. And in June, we're splitting into 2 groups. So actually it's 3. The free social group is for everybody. The only fee is your participation. The second group is for the people who participate more. So they're more committed, they're more engaged, and that's invitation only. You kind of have to earn your way in there. And the third group is the meeting with the mentor group. And this is an accountability group for support on your own personal hero's journey. We have a weekly virtual meeting where we talk about a skill or an idea, and then we check in with each other. And then you can ask me questions for help to get you going or keep going or make a course correction. Or you could also hit me up for a private session. We can get a lot of work done in a really short amount of time that might feel pretty stunning. And the coolest part of all that is it doesn't require any indulging of personal information at all. I love that part. So you don't have to tell your story. In fact, telling your story puts you in your head and it takes you out of the metaphor, so it gets in the way. So we don't talk about specifics until afterwards, and only if you want to. I have lots of clients who are sick and tired of having to tell their story and avoid searching for help because they don't want to do it again. Well, now you don't have to. So if that's something I can help with, I'm at your service. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope that you are creating lovely visions. And if you're not sure, your outside's a reflection of your inside. If you don't like what you see or think it could be better, join us. See you next time on Fantasia.
Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Spotify so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, why not show your love with a review? Thanks. See you next week.